Welcome back to SIP Study, Discovering Together. I'm your host, Kathryn Sie, Research Compliance Coordinator at the Stress in Pregnancy Lab. In our previous episode, we explore some fascinating aspects of how experiences during pregnancy can shape a child's development. We know that events during pregnancy can cast a long shadow. And today, we are diving into a specific event, Superstorm Sandy, and exploring its potential link to autism-related traits and brain activity in children. This is Sandy's Shadows on Development, Exploring Autism Link. With me today is Monika Baldyga, a brilliant master student who recently presented her master thesis on this very topic. Monika, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Kathryn. I'm excited to share my work.
So, Monika, your thesis title is quite a mouthful. Association between autism-related traits, adaptive behaviors, and fronto-limbic activity among children exposed and unexposed to prenatal stress. For our listener who may not be familiar with all the terminology, could you break down what your research was about?
Absolutely. In simple terms, I was looking at a group of children, some of whom were exposed to significant stress during pregnancy due to Superstorm Sandy, and others who weren't. I wanted to explore whether there were any connections between this early stress and how these children were developing, specifically in areas related to social behaviors, daily living skills, what we refer to as adaptive behaviors, and how their brains responded when viewing emotional faces.
That's fascinating. Superstorm Sandy was such a significant event for our region. What made you want to explore its potential impact on child development in this way?
We know from previous research that major stressors during pregnancy can have long-lasting effects on children. Some studies have already linked prenatal Sandy exposure to increased externalizing behaviors. I was particularly interested in understanding whether there might also be a link to autism-related traits and how the brain regions involved in processing social cues, such as the fronto-limbic areas, might be affected.
And how did you go about studying this? What did you ask the children and their families to do?
We worked with families who are a part of the stress in pregnancy study. We looked at assessments of the children's behaviors related to autism that were done between the ages of 2 and 6 years. We also invited the children back when they were around 8 years old to do a brain scan called fMRI, while they looked at pictures of faces showing different emotions. This allowed us to see how active different parts of their brains were. We also looked at questionnaires that assessed their adaptive skills like communication and daily living activities.
That sounds like a comprehensive approach. So, what are some of your key findings? What did you discover about the connection between prenatal Sandy exposure and these developmental outcomes?
Interestingly, we didn't find a direct link between being exposed to Sandy prenatally and having higher autism-related traits over time. However, we did notice a trend suggesting that children who were exposed to Sandy might have slightly lower scores in adaptive skills and activities of daily living. While this wasn't statistically strong, it's something to keep an eye on in future research.
That's an important thing. And what about the brain activity? Did you see any differences there?
We didn't see a general difference in brain activity between the Sandy exposed and unexposed groups when they looked at emotional faces. However, when we looked closer at the interaction between their behaviors and prenatal stress, we found something really interesting. In children who were exposed to Sandy, we saw that as their autism-related traits increased, the activity in their fronto-limbic brain regions also tended to increase. We also observed a similar pattern with adaptive behaviors. Higher adaptive skills were associated with increased activity in these brain regions in the Sandy exposed group.
That's a fascinating interactions. What do you think might be going on there?
It suggests that in children who experienced prenatal stress, the relationship between their social behaviors, adaptive skills, and brain activity might be different compared to those who weren't exposed. It could be that their brains are adapting or compensating in different ways. For example, increased brain activity might be needed to process social information when children have more autism-related traits, or when they are developing stronger adaptive skills.
That's a really insightful way to look at it. So, what are the big takeaways from your research for our listener?
I think the main thing is that early life stress, like a major natural disaster during pregnancy, can have subtle but potentially important influences on a child's development. While we didn't find a direct link to autism traits, the trends we saw with adaptive skills and the interesting brain activity patterns highlight the complex ways that prenatal experiences can shape the brain and behavior. It underscores the importance of supporting pregnant mothers and families who experience stressful events.
Absolutely. Understanding this connection is so crucial, especially as we unfortunately see more frequent and intense natural disaster. Monica, thank you so much for sharing your important research with us today. It's giving us a lot to think about.
Thank you for having me, Kathryn. It was a pleasure.
What a thoughtful, provoking conversation with Monica. Her research reminds us that the experiences during pregnancy can have a ripple effects on a child development in way we're still learning to understand. It highlights the resilience of children, but also the importance of providing support and understanding to family who face significant stressor. If you found this episode insightful, please share it with your friends and family. We also love to hear your thoughts. You can connect with us on social media. We are on Facebook and on X as SIP Study. You can also find more information about our research and other episodes on our website, sipstudy.org. If you're interested to further discussion about child development and related topic, be sure to subscribe to my other podcasts.